What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification. Put it on all, you get notified straight away as soon as we drop any new content. Without further ado, let's get into this one. So, recently it's been announced that finally the YouTube fight that a lot of people have been waiting for is going to take place this month, February the 26th. On a Sunday, strange one. It's going to be taking place in Saudi Arabia, and that's going to be the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight. This is a fight that's been talked about for, at the very least, a year. Could even be more. You'll know Tommy Fury, brother of Tyson, been on sort of TV, reality TV, Love Island and stuff like that. And Jake Paul, of course, the YouTube sensation, at least in excess of 20 odd million YouTube followers and stuff like that. I think they got started through Disney and doing pranks and all this sort of stuff, but of late Jake Paul's been sort of taking his boxing a bit more seriously. He's got his boxing license. He hasn't really fought a actual boxer as of yet. He hasn't done that yet. And a lot of people have been saying about Jake Paul, when you fight a real boxer, then you're going to get found out. Because what he's done, he's been clever. He's fought UFC guys, Ben Askren, I think his first fight. I think it was that basketball player. And the basketball player, no idea how to throw hands, but Jake Paul fought him, and he made mincemeat out of the basketball player, mincemeat out of Ben Askren, because Ben Askren's more the wrestling type of guy. He fought Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley is the only one that's sort of taken him the distance. But of course, Woodley is a guy he's a UFC guy. He's not a boxer by any stretch of the imagination. There's a big difference there. But then you could argue, well, Jake Paul is not really a boxer either. He's a kid that didn't come up boxing, but yeah, he seems to have gotten the hang of the game. He knocked Woodley out in his next performance. And he also took out Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva, to his credit, was able to actually beat a former world champion in boxing, which is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was never really a great boxer, but at the same time, he was a world champion. And so for Silva to beat him and Paul to beat him, it doesn't always work like that in boxing, but you've got to give credit where it's due. You beat someone who's beaten a world champion, and regardless of his age, Silva was over 40 at the time, you still got to say, well, if he was completely and utterly useless, Paul, then he wouldn't be able to pull that off. And in contrast, you've got Tommy Fury. Now, Tommy Fury has had no real amateur background either. I think he had definitely under 10 bouts. From what I heard, he probably had about, I want to say, about 6. So he wasn't really doing anything serious as an amateur. Yeah, he didn't really box at a high level as an amateur, because at that stage you could only sort of box as a novice. I know, I've done it myself and stuff. And so he didn't really win anything as an amateur. He didn't do anything at national level, international level as an amateur. He just a handful of fights, next to no real experience. I mean, he has been around a boxing family for all his life, but at the same time, that doesn't make you a boxer because you've been around a boxing family, or because of what your brother or your dad did. His dad boxer, yes, John Fury, turned pro and everything. Tyson Fury, of course, probably the best heavyweight around at the time right now. So you got that, but at the same time, that does not equate to you. That does not give you experience in the ring. So for me, I see this fight as one that it does irritate a lot of boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans like myself. But at the same time, I think these guys, it's kind of a 50-50 fight, really, because you got one guy who's the professional boxer, does it for a living, and another guy who is like a YouTuber turned professional boxer. But I think because of Tommy Fury's lack of amateur background and amateur pedigree, and you look at who he's fought as a pro, and they've all been journeyman, and he even fought that, whatever his name, I think his name's Anthony Taylor, that guy that's a wrestler or a UFC sort of guy. And he took Tommy Fury the distance. Tommy Fury didn't look very good in that fight. So you look at who Tommy's fought as a pro, and they've all just been sort of no-hopers. They've all been journeymen. I mean, some of these journeymen he fought, they've never even won a fight. So for me, this is a very much a 50-50 fight. I know that ordinarily and logically you would think, well, do you know what? The professional boxer versus the YouTuber, the professional boxer always wins. And in most cases, yeah, that would be true. But in this case, we're talking about a professional boxer with no real amateur experience and no real accomplishments as a pro. And that's no knock to Tommy Fury, because at the end of the day, he's had like under 10 bouts as a pro, as well. So total in his whole thing, amateur and pro, he's only had at the most, let's say 14 bouts, and as a pro he's only had about 7, and none of those 7 guys have really been any good. You know what I mean? They're just guys to sort of build up his record and give him experience. They're not guys that are really standing any chance of actually beating him. They're not been competitive fights he's been having. They've just been kind of knockover jobs and guys just to give him a few rounds and build him up, as many prospects do. That's how it goes. You fight journeymen, you get to a level, then you start stepping up the competition. But he's very, very early in his career, and Jake Paul's a guy who, you know, to his credit, that Anderson Silva victory, although Silva's not a real boxer, but the fact that Silva's beaten a former world champion sort of gives him an edge in terms of who he's fought. When you compare the pro rate, I know he's a YouTuber, but at the end of the day, you know, you fought someone like Silva, who's fought a former world champion and beat him. That trumps any of those journeymen that Tommy Fury's fought in terms of accomplishments, if you look at it objectively. I think it's one of those where definitely Tommy Fury has a lot more to lose, because if Tommy Fury loses this fight, then he really, the memes are just going to be going on and on and on for years. And, you know, his family, they'll probably just disown the guy if he loses. Whereas for Jake Paul, he's got absolutely nothing to lose in this fight. You know, he can go in there and get banged out. He gets banged out and says, well, you know what? Tommy Fury's a professional boxer. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just learning, blah, blah, blah. There's many little excuses that Jake Paul can make. But Tommy Fury, I mean, even if this goes the distance, that might be a slight on him. People will still probably be cutting him out, saying, oh, you couldn't get rid of a YouTuber. You know what I mean? Because of the type of stuff that Jake Paul talks and Tommy Fury talks, and been saying, he's taking his top off in the face-off and saying, yeah, you're going to get done, and and he's been talking a good game. So with all that talk, if it even goes the distance, for me, that's like a moral victory for Jake Paul, because it's like, well, you said you're going to take me out and we've gone the distance. So now what? Now what you're saying? So, yeah, I think there's everything to lose for Tommy Fury because of the pullouts as well. He's pulled out of the fight a couple of times. But for Jake Paul, nothing to lose. Nothing to lose at all. So it's a risky, well, it shouldn't be a risky fight because it's a YouTuber, but I think because both guys are at similar levels, Tommy hasn't really done much amateur or pro, so it's kind of 50-50, and we'll see who's going to win. I get a sneaking suspicion Jake Paul might be able to pull it off. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. I know YouTube boxing is not something that we fans typically like, but at the same time, I would say this, that although it's not something we're really into per se, it will be entertaining. And at the end of the day, boxing is about entertainment. And I think at this novice level, both guys undefeated, it will be entertaining regardless. So, and it will make a fortune. So it's one of those where boxing's also a business. So let me know what you think about this fight in the comment section below. And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out. I'll catch you next time.